The night air of Manila was heavy with the scent of rain and gasoline. Street lights flickered above cracked pavements, their glow barely reaching the corners where forgotten lives slept. Between the sounds of traffic and the echo of footsteps, a faint melody rose, fragile, pure, and aching with truth. It was the voice of a boy. His clothes were faded, his hair damp from the drizzle, and his hands trembled slightly as he strummed a battered guitar with missing strings. Yet when he sang, everything else seemed to fade. The honking cars, the murmurs of strangers, even the hunger in his own stomach. The song was Hotel California. He didn't know where it came from, only that his mother used to hum it while she cooked street food for the neighbors. To him, it wasn't just a song. It was the last piece of home that still existed. People passed him by. Some glanced with pity, others with indifference. A few threw coins into his open cap. Most didn't stop long enough to see the quiet storm in his eyes. Still, Eli kept singing, his voice trembling through the cold night. Every word carried something bigger than music, a longing to be heard, a plea to be seen, a whisper to a world that often forgot boys like him existed. In that lonely street corner, under flickering lights and endless noise, Eli's song cut through the air like a fragile prayer. His voice, though cracked and untrained, held the weight of something no studio could ever create: honesty. And as his song reached the final verse, he looked up at the dark sky, his reflection shining in the puddles around him. Somewhere in his heart, a question lingered. Would anyone ever truly listen? Would the world ever care for a boy who had nothing but a voice? That night, no one knew that this same voice, raw, tender, born from pain, would one day silence thousands. That it would travel from the forgotten streets of Manila to the world's biggest stage, where for the first time, even America's Got Talent would fall silent. The walls were thin, the roof leaked during every monsoon, but to him, it was paradise, because his mother, Eli Cruz, filled it with laughter and music. She wasn't famous, but to Eli, her voice was the sound of comfort. It carried a warmth that made even the hardest nights feel safe. She would sing old songs, sometimes in English, sometimes in Tagalog, and Eli would sit beside her, eyes wide, trying to copy every note. They didn't have much, but they had rhythm. The rhythm of pots clanging, river water flowing, and their two voices blending in harmony. It was their secret world, a small, beautiful one, built from melodies and dreams. But dreams are fragile things. The sickness came slowly, a persistent cough, a fever that wouldn't fade. Mara tried to keep singing, tried to smile, but Eli noticed how her hands trembled when she played the guitar. The songs became softer, shorter. Then, one day, they stopped altogether. When she passed, the world fell silent. The tiny house by the river was taken by the flood a few months later, and the boy who once sang beside his mother found himself singing alone beneath streetlights. The guitar she left behind was old, its body cracked, its strings rusted. Yet Eli carried it everywhere, not as an instrument, but as a memory. Every time he strummed, he felt her presence in the vibration of the strings. Every time he sang, it was as if her voice was singing with him. Now, standing under the harsh light of Manila's streets, Eli's small hands moved across the same broken strings. The sound was imperfect, but the emotion behind it was real. To him, that guitar wasn't broken, it was alive. It held the last heartbeat of his mother's love, and deep within, Eli made a silent promise. One day, this same guitar would make the world stop and listen. Morning sunlight spilled across the streets of Manila, painting everything gold. Even the worn bricks, even the faces that carried years of struggle. Eli sat near an old convenience store, his mother's guitar on his lap, his voice carrying softly through the morning bustle. He sang like he always did, not for fame, not for applause, but because the music was the only thing that still made sense. Every note was a prayer to the memory of his mother, and every lyric was a thread connecting him to a world that had once felt warm. That day, as he sang Hotel California, something unexpected happened. A foreign tourist paused. The man stood quietly, listening, not with curiosity, but with stillness, as if afraid to breathe. When Eli finished, the man smiled, recorded a short video on his phone, and slipped a few bills into Ellie's cap before walking away. Eli didn't think much of it. To him, it was just another stranger passing through his music. But a few days later, everything changed. The video, "Homeless Filipino Boy Sings Hotel California," spread across the internet like wildfire. Millions of people watched it. Comments poured in from every corner of the world. His voice gave me chills. This boy deserves a stage. Someone find him. Producers from America's Got Talent found the clip too. When they told him about AGT, he didn't understand at first. The words sounded foreign, distant. A flight to America, cameras, judges? It all felt like a story too big for a boy who once sang for coins. But deep inside, something stirred. The voice of his mother, whispering the same promise she once made. Your music will take you somewhere beautiful. Weeks later, Eli boarded a plane for the first time in his life. From the narrow alleys of Manila to the glowing skyline of Los Angeles, his journey felt like a dream he wasn't ready to believe. And as he walked into the grand AGT auditorium, lights blinding and hearts pounding, he clutched his mother's old guitar, his only piece of home, ready to sing for the world. The stage was vast, far larger than anything Eli Cruz had ever seen. Golden lights swept across the crowd, cameras floated silently, and the energy in the air felt alive. Thousands of eyes watched as a small boy from the streets of Manila stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, clutching a guitar with scratches and faded strings. He looked out into the sea of faces. The judges sat before him, their expressions curious, a mixture of wonder and disbelief. In the distance, he saw Simon Cowell, his sharp gaze unreadable. For a moment, Ellie's knees trembled. The noise, the lights, the weight of expectation, it all pressed against his chest like a storm. But then, he remembered the soft hum of Hotel California echoing through the walls of their tiny home. That memory steadied his hands. He closed his eyes and began to play. The first chord rang out fragile and uncertain. By the third, the world around him seemed to fade. His voice rose, soft, pure, trembling with emotion. Every word carried the ache of the streets, the loneliness of nights without warmth, and the unbreakable love of a mother who never truly left. As the song unfolded, the audience grew silent. Simon's eyes softened, not just in admiration, but in something deeper, something that felt almost like regret. When Eli reached the final lines, his voice cracked, not from weakness, but from truth. It was raw, real, the kind of sound that reminded people of their own hidden pain. The hall was completely still. Then, suddenly, a single clap, another, and then a wave of applause so thunderous it shook the air. Simon stood. His expression changed from disbelief to wonder. Slowly, he pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained down like falling stars, landing softly on Ellie's hair and guitar. The boy stood frozen, eyes wide, tears streaming down his face. For the first time in his life, the world wasn't walking past his music. It was listening. And in that golden storm, Eli finally understood. His mother's promise had come true.